gunslinger. It's a word we hear hundreds of times every NFL season, and it usually defines our game's greatest quarterbacks. The term was the complete embodiment of Patrick Mahomes as a younger, more inexperienced quarterback, but with NFL defenses changing to stop him, he has changed too. He is now no longer a gunslinger. Instead, he's become hyper-efficient by attacking underneath, and by reversing his approach, is playing arguably his best football ever. This has actually been 5 years in the making. His average depth of target has fallen all the way to 32nd in the league at just 7.5, which means he does not push the ball down the field like his gunslinger reputation would have you believe. After losing Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs' offense attacked even less downfield, where Mahomes led the league in a surprising stat. He had 31 touchdown passes under 10 air yards. Only Joe Burrow and Josh Allen had more total touchdowns on the year. Whether it be dominating in the red zone or a quick screen pass or slant, these short passes defined the Chiefs' Super Bowl season. They fully leaned into an offense where Mahomes attacks underneath with great efficiency, which is our word of the day. They had to become super efficient because of how defenses were now playing them, and because they lost Tyreek Hill. Defenses now drop a second safety deep to protect against the long ball and to limit Mahomes' arm strength, so the offense had to become more efficient on lower ceiling plays. If you start attacking under 10 yards more often instead of attempting deeper passes down the field, you need to be able to hit 6-yard pass, 9-yard pass, 7-yard pass at a very high clip, which is what made the Chiefs so frickin' good in 2022. An example of this is how they attacked the Texans' cover 4 zone quarters defense, which simply just means 4 deep defenders and 3 intermediate defenders. With defenses dropping that second safety deep to better defend deeper passes, that means there are fewer guys underneath to guard underneath, which is why the Chiefs and Mahomes have evolved to better attack the open space. Now that they don't have a Tyreek Hill, they have to game plan better to consistently pick up these 7-yard gains, because they can't just throw deep to pick up 30 as often. With 4 deep defenders and 3 underneath, there are little holes in any zone coverage for offenses to try to exploit. With the corner playing one of the deep quarters, this curl route underneath him is a gimme every time, but defenses are smart and know to protect him. They need to use one of their 3 underneath defenders to protect that underneath space. Well, the Chiefs know this too, which is why they use Juju Smith-Schuster to wall off that defender so Mahomes can comfortably hit the 7-yard curl. They use these same looks several times a game to create these simple, easy passes, even when Mahomes doesn't even target them, and then later in the game use the same formations, but mix up the concepts to mess with the defenders and play off what they've already shown them. Andy Reid deploys a scheme that often makes things easier, but Mahomes is the one who has to go out and execute, and his execution took a major step up this past season. Again, the Texans are in this 4 deep, 3 underneath cover 4 zone, and Mahomes has them all figured out before the play even starts. With Juju running this quick dig and Kelce whipping back out, he knows he wants Juju's route and he'll have to target this little pocket of space underneath. Cause it's cover 4 zone, he already knows the corner and safety are out of the picture, unless the safety banshees down for some reason. So really, Christian Harris and Christian Kirksey, no relation, are the guys he has to maneuver. He knows Kelce's route will occupy Harris, so the concept takes care of him. But Pat will have to hold the ball until Juju clears Harris, and by then Kirksey could meld over into the window. So Mahomes holds his eyes to the right to move Kirksey, knows Kelce will tie up Harris, and even with all of that, it's still a bang-bang play. You can see his head turn to the right here, that's to move Kirksey to his right to get him out of the way. Then just to be extra sure he gets it off, he dodges the D lineman to create a window, so he can come as close to a guarantee as possible. He'll keep completing these short, efficient passes. Really, it's been the 2 high safety coverages that has spurred the shift in their attack. Because defenses have taken away his deep ball, he's had to become hyper-focused on just taking what's there, and he aggressively attacks underneath to make sure they keep picking up these 8-yard chunks. His pre-snap ability is taking that next step to an even higher level. He's able to now win before the snap much quicker and creates big gains on throws that are under 10 yards. Again, with this pre-snap 4 deep cover 4 quarters look, Mahomes sees that Denver has placed an extra defender on the line, so now they just have 2 intermediate defenders as opposed to the typical 3. Andy Reid likes putting 4 receivers to one side of the field, which most teams just generally don't do, and when Mahomes sees that 5th defender on the ball, he knows the Chiefs have a numbers advantage. With 3 defenders to his left, either Josie Jewell has to sprint outside to cover the flat, Mahomes knows that's super far. Or Baron Browning, who's a pass rusher, has to not rush and cover all this space, which is just not his job. Mahomes simply checks at the snap to make sure Browning's rushing and knows the Broncos don't have enough defenders to guard everybody. We can see why the Chiefs are so good against these zone coverages. Mahomes can read the defense pre-snap and find the soft spots and attack. He can use his eyes to move guys. Attacking underneath is a bit easier against zone since defenders try and gain depth. But a bigger question heading into last year was how they'd handle man coverage after losing Tyreek, since they didn't really have a high-end talent at the receiver position after Travis Kelce. If you want to attack underneath in man coverage, you need quick separation right after the snap. Well, that's gonna be harder when your guys aren't as good. Still, the Chiefs finished first against man coverage as well, were uber efficient, and that's because Pat makes everything right, even when it's wrong. Denver's trying to show the same 4 deep, 3 underneath quarters look pre-snap, and the Chiefs have a good answer. A corner and out route attacks that outside space away from the 2 defenders, but at the snap, the defense rolls into cover 1 man with a robber safety flying in to guard anything in the middle, so on paper, it's the perfect call against this concept. We've talked before about how when a defense in man coverage has an extra zone defender in the middle, the defenders position themselves outside to try and funnel the receivers towards that zone help. Against a corner and out route, well, those are dead because the defenders are outside of them. And with Mahomes' third read being Juju on the backside dig, the robber safety has taken care of that too. This is a dead play for 28 other teams, 30, 31. On paper, the Broncos have won the play pre-snap, and 3 seconds into it, they've won that too. But when facing Pat Mahomes, who also gets stepped on by Orlando Brown, the Chiefs can still win against man coverage, even when they shouldn't. Using motion before the snap helps a ton against man coverage too. The Chiefs use it the most in the NFL. And despite the fact they don't have Tyreek, they still have guys who can chip in to do parts of his job. This is the famous jet chip wasp play that won him the Super Bowl, where Mecole Hardman is just as fast, but you don't really want him to get press man coverage here. He's just not about that action. So Reed fake motions him across to get Amik Robertson off of him. You can't play press coverage if the guy's running across the formation. Then when they bring Mecole back, Robertson can't really race up to press him again because then he'll be out of position if they snap it quick. Like we said before, Robertson has safety help in the middle, so he's going to stay outside of Hardman to force him towards the middle. And because Reed allows Hardman to just use his speed, there is way too much space created by the pre-snap motion, and while it's not an underneath throw, the Chiefs still have this play in their arsenal. Beating man coverage gets harder in the low red zone, but as we said, that is where Mahomes has 31 passes under 10 air yards for touchdowns, because he always finds a way. The Chiefs know defenses want to double Travis Kelce, especially in this area of the field, so that gives each of their guys one-on-ones, but they don't have any guys who can win one-on-ones. They try to make Noah Gray that guy and run him on this little fin route. And by the way, when you're watching film, you can tell how the play is designed based on where the quarterback's eyes go. So when Mahomes snaps his eyes to his left, the Chiefs are all in on designing this play for Gray to win inside, but he is just not that guy. So Mahomes comes back to Kelce, doubled, starts running towards the end zone, but while keeping his eyes downfield, and is able to hit MVS for a touchdown. And oh yeah, he did this all with a nearly broken ankle. They rely on Pat to beat man coverage more than anybody. He moves around, he creates separation for his receivers by giving him time, and then against zone coverage he's doing the same, but he also has Travis Kelce to nestle into these tiny crevices. He can feel out those little holes in the defense honestly better than anybody I've ever seen. And in the red zone when things get tight, he and Mahomes can still connect on touchdowns that are under 10 air yards. The Chiefs lost one of the best players in the league and actually got better by acknowledging they don't have the same talent, one that attacks deep, and that defenses are playing them differently. They and their quarterback evolved to become hyper-efficient. Gunslingers of the past wouldn't have been able to make this transition. Brett Favre was still going to fire that thing in there, whatever the coverage and whoever was trying to get open. But this year shows that Mahomes isn't a prototypical gunslinger and that he is as legit as any quarterback we've ever seen. He's not a one-trick pony whatsoever. He has learned, practiced, and evolved his craft to become what we saw in 2022. This man is straight up different, and this man does it better than anybody we have ever seen.